Hey guys, so I've been gone for a while just doing other things like work, but I'm excited to come back to this hobby channel of mine just to chat about the internet and make art. In this video, I will be talking about the latest Gabbie Hanna situation that started a few weeks ago and just give my casual thoughts and opinions about all of it. While I was away, I missed a lot of your comments from some of my previous videos, so I ended up binge reading all of them right before bed a couple nights ago, which was not a good idea. It seems like my previous drama videos attracted a lot of negativity. Most of the time it was directed toward the subjects of my video, but sometimes people didn't like my bias and opinion or my lack of bias and opinion in certain situations. And someone even came for the sound of my voice eventually, which did kind of hurt, but it definitely made me feel icky as I was falling asleep last night. But instead of letting it all get to me, and instead of trying to please everybody, I decided just to kind of rebrand my content, if you may, even though I only have like 3 videos. So instead of marketing myself as a drama channel, I just want to be casual chit chat about the internet, gossip while I draw, and talk about my thoughts. I won't be spilling tea or reporting news right as it comes out or even covering every situation that happens online, but I want this channel to remain a fun hobby for me. So if you're into that, I'm glad to have you here, and I encourage you to grab a sketchbook and maybe a beverage and make some art with me while we gossip about YouTube drama. So with that out of the way, let's get started and talk about what's happening with Gabbie Hanna recently. I won't be going over the whole timeline since, again, I don't want to be a reporter on the news. I just want to chat about what's currently on my mind and have some discussion with you guys about it. But if you aren't caught up, I recommend watching some recaps from other commentary channels beginning around the resurfaced drama with Rachel Oates about 3 weeks ago. But what I'd like to focus on in this video is the way that Gabbie Hanna has been talking to and behaving toward other creators, and I will be talking about the repercussions that these creators have had to endure due to Gabbie's online behavior toward them, and how these are even affecting regular YouTube viewers and fans of these creators. I am someone who is actually a longtime fan of Gabbie Hanna, and I'm someone who has critiqued her art and reviewed her art online in the past, someone who has sent her fan art when I was a teenager, and I am also somebody who has had a couple pleasant interactions online with Gabbie Hanna, but I definitely felt really icky and also just really sad when I watched her go after Rachel Oates on her Instagram stories. The first I saw of these stories was when Gabbie was talking about breaking the rules of poetry, using artistic license, and how people don't understand her poetry because they can't grasp a neurodivergent brain. And then she went on to say that the people critiquing her art and her poetry are non-creative, insecure, neurotypical, and only participated in the criticism because of money and views instead of creating their own art. Gabbie then personally called out Rachel Oates by name for writing a parody book from the perspective of her dog to poke fun at Gabbie's poetry. I really don't agree with Gabbie calling Rachel a loser in this tweet, but I do see how this could be seen as a mean gesture by Rachel. But at the same time, I don't think it's inherently wrong to create a parody artwork as a response to another artist. It happens all the time in the art world, and it is actually a really important part of art history in general. Historically, artists have always responded to each other either respectfully or disrespectfully, and that's how new art movements have formed historically, and that's one of the greatest things about art. It makes people angry, and it creates responses that create new art movements and new art in themselves. But with that being said, I would feel really hurt in this situation if I were Gabbie, so her feelings are valid. But nobody wants to see their art become a parody or a butt of a joke. But what isn't okay, in my opinion, is when Gabbie doubled down in her next tweet, now calling Rachel a cowardly loser, and she also spread the false statement that Rachel deleted her Instagram after people started calling her out, when in reality, Rachel's Instagram was just mass reported by Gabbie Hanna's audience and was removed by Instagram without any notice. Now this screenshot here that Gabbie posted is just downright mean in my opinion. I don't think it's okay to laugh at someone's views or belittle them because of it. I know Gabbie was trying to make the point that Rachel only gets good views when she talks about Gabbie, but this was really a low blow, and it's equating numbers to relevance, which is I just wholeheartedly disagree with that as a very small channel myself. And then as these Instagram stories go on, there are a lot more details that go into involving a third-party mutual friend, some he said, she said stuff, but there are a lot of great channels that dive deeper into that. However, will be just getting to my next point because it's a lot of details that don't really go with what I'm trying to talk about in this video, but my next point is the language that Gabbie used toward Rachel. Again, it's valid for Gabbie to feel sad and hurt by Rachel's videos. I personally would feel the same way if I was in her shoes, but I draw the line at public calling out to a huge platform and name calling. The words that Gabbie called Rachel are verbally abusive in my opinion, just based on what I've seen growing up with an immediate family member who liked to use those same words. I will elaborate on that more in a little bit, but I'd also like to discuss another thing Gabbie said. Gabbie said, "She is not a artist. I don't care about her opinion because she has no accomplishments in art or has proven to me that she's actually intellectual enough to understand art. I accept my criticism from talented, smart people, not abusive, toxic, exploitative bullies on YouTube." I'd like to discuss this quote for a couple of reasons. One, Rachel absolutely is an artist. She paints and draws and probably tries to write poetry herself, and she does have artistic credentials to back up her critiques. And two, I am also an artist who has critiqued Gabbie's art online, and I have had Gabbie react to my critiques in a positive way. So what's the substantial difference between my critique and Rachel's critique? I personally don't see myself as any more qualified or smart or talented than Rachel to provide constructive criticism. But with that being said, I'm not someone who likes to be mean online, but I'm also not saying Rachel is either. But I was very careful in my critiques to be very kind and respectful in my criticism. I never used any words like bad or hate or anything like that, but I did make sure to point out where I could see improvements being made in her paintings. I like doing the compliment sandwich method where I say something nice, give my criticism, and then say something nice again. I do this because I am also a very sensitive person when it comes to my art being critiqued, and that's how I like to receive critiques of my own art. Rachel, however, has a different method, but it's still a valid method. Rachel doesn't sugarcoat her criticisms with compliment sandwiches like I do. Some of her critiques can be pretty harsh, but they are also always constructive still. So when Gabbie says that she only accepts criticism from talented, smart people and not bullies on the internet, it gets me comparing myself to Rachel. I'm not any more smart or talented than Rachel. I was just really nice when I delivered my critiques, and Rachel was more blunt. It's clear that Rachel has a strong passion for poetry. She understands it very well. Her job is essentially a poetry critic online, and she critiques poetry from all types of writers and creators, not just Gabbie. And it's true that the Gabbie videos do get the most views on her channel, but that's because that's what viewers wanted to see, and that's what people are clicking on, and that's why Rachel kept making those videos. I also now just wanted to circle back to what I said earlier when I compared the language Gabbie used toward Rachel to the language that I grew up with from my verbally abusive family member. This family member of mine has been diagnosed with ADD, depression, and anxiety, and they are currently seeking a borderline personality disorder diagnosis as well. I grew up seeing and hearing this person calling my other family members words like ugly, sociopathic, etc. And it really hurt hearing those similar words coming from Gabbie, especially publicly where everyone can see this and everyone can hear this, and where a lot of people can relate to hearing these words come from other people in their lives like I do. As an adult, I've begun to recognize that behavior is abusive behavior, and I've had to distance myself from this family member, and I absolutely refuse to let anybody use that language toward me anymore from this point forward, basically. And it was really scary growing up in that environment, and it was scary seeing Gabbie, as someone who I've always loved and supported, use that language toward a small creator who critiqued her art online. With that being said, this family member has expressed remorse after these behaviors and actions, and after they affected me and my other family members. I've been apologized to by this family member on numerous occasions as well, but that's not something I'm seeing Gabbie doing. Gabbie's behavior has caused trauma toward Rachel Oates, as well as other creators like Hello Leash and Oscar Wilde specifically. And with the help of Gabbie's audience attacking these people, it literally has caused trauma for them. These people have been actually like really mentally affected to the point where it's now a traumatic experience on their timeline that they need to work past. And I feel so sad and hurt seeing these people being hurt, but I don't see any remorse coming from Gabbie. So with all that being said, I'm just really sad for the whole situation, and I hope everything gets better for everybody involved. And I'm just sad, and that's all I can say. I'm not sure how many of you are still here, but if you are, thank you so much. If you made some art with me, I'd love for you to share it with me or tag me on Twitter or Instagram. You can find me at the handles on the screen here and also linked in the description. Let me know your thoughts below, but please remember, stay kind, avoid using hateful language toward anybody involved. Other than that, I absolutely welcome constructive criticism and discussion about my video, the situation, Gabbie's actions and behaviors, and other related topics, or just let me know if you enjoyed the content if you did. So thank you for being here, and I will see you next time.